Good day, my dear students. This is Dr. Wafa, and in this lecture, I'm going to present the topic Stative and Dynamic 2.16, and you can find it in the book on page 2021. 2021. So, broadly speaking, we're going to talk about four elements in this lecture: nouns, adjectives, verbs, and adverbs. Generally speaking, nouns and adjectives are to be stative. They give a static sense. Nouns are used usually to label things, to name things, while adjectives are used to describe things. So in both cases, to name things or to describe things, it reflects a sense of a static or a stable. Static or stable. Nouns could be either concrete or abstract, concrete or physical, to describe whatever object there in the world. House, a table, a paper, a pen, a computer, whatever. And it could be an abstract noun or abstract to describe an abstract concept like hope, truth, length, love, hate, emotions, and such things. But in both cases, whether concrete or abstract, in both cases, usually they are stative. On the other hand, adverbs and verbs, usually they are dynamic. They are characterized to be dynamic, to have a dynamic sense. Verbs, but not all kinds of verbs, verbs which indicate action, activity, and temporary or changing conditions, they are named to be dynamic. But other types of verbs that are going to come across them, they are not dynamic. So the verbs that show action, the verbs that are not showing permanent situations, verbs that show temporary or changing conditions, these are called to be dynamic. Verbs such as run, turn, become, became, ride, drive, eat, play, discuss, these verbs are dynamic. You can find this diagram, this picture, you can find it on page 21 in your book. It shows the relationship between the elements that are on the stative horizon with the elements that are on the dynamic horizon. You see, there are some relationships between the two elements. They are not two different separated worlds of items, of elements, but they are related to each other. They can be derived from one another. So there is the relationship between the stative and dynamic elements. This is what is meant by this diagram. You have nouns that are in relationship with adjectives. You see these arrows, these two-sided arrows, it means that there is a reciprocal relationship between the elements. We can derive nouns from adjectives. So on the horizon of stative elements, we can have relationship between the stative elements, deriving nouns from adjectives, adjectives from noun, and so on. And on the relationship between the two horizons, the stative, static, and the dynamic ones, we can have nouns derived from verbs and the vice versa, adjectives derived from adverbs and the vice versa. Take, for example, we are going to put the same diagram on an example here. A noun could be the word courage, and we can derive an adjective from the noun. So we can see that there is this reciprocal relationship between the stative elements. Courageous is derived from courage. And on the different horizon, we have a relationship between the stative and dynamic elements, which is to derive a verb from a noun or the vice versa. So we can have encourage from courage or the vice versa. And also we can have courageously from courageous. We can have an adverb derived from an adjective. And in other resources, it's worth mentioning that even among the dynamic elements, we can have relationships with different examples, of course. On the other hand, we can say that there are some verbs, like verbs of perception, verbs of cognition, they have no dynamic sense. So far we know that verbs and adverbs, they are naturally dynamic, But verbs of perception, verbs of cognition, they cannot be dynamic because they provide a static situation, non-dynamic situation. Adjectives and nouns, on the other hand, they can also act as dynamic in certain situations which are called transitory conditions of behavior or activity. Transitory means temporary situations or let's say dynamic situations. The question is where are those dynamic situations? When do we consider a situation to be dynamic, and how can we consider it to be dynamic? It depends on the type of the verb in the sentence. So if you have this sentence which shows dynamicity, it shows a temporary situation like in this one, then the noun in this sentence would be dynamic. He is being a nuisance again. So this would be, if you just label the thing, if you want to just name the thing, it would be he is a nuisance without using this again. He is a nuisance. Okay, in this case it would be the second, which is the stative or permanent situation, stative case, the normal case of providing a noun. But in this case, because we have this verb, pay attention, we have this verb which shows dynamicity, it shows that there is a temporary situation, then the noun also becomes dynamic. The noun becomes temporal. Same thing is with the adjective. Is being naughty again. Is being naughty. Again, is being changes the adjective naughty from stative into dynamic. The normal case for the noun and adjective would be having this stative and permanent situation, static sense of nouns and adjectives, which is he is a nuisance, he is naughty. So in this case, the noun and the adjective are stative. Examples. He wrote the book. The verb wrote is dynamic because there is an action. The girl is sitting there. The girl is sitting there also is dynamic because although she's not doing an action, although there is no action in the or movement in the sentence, but still it shows that the situation is permanent. It is not permanent. Sorry, the situation is temporal, and it is changing. See, she's not sitting there forever. So here we have verbs, and both verbs are dynamic because they describe a dynamic situation. While on the other hand, we have the sentence, the writing of the book was such a pleasure. The writing is describing only the process of writing. We're not talking about the writing as a verb, as an action, but there is this description of the sentence. So here we have a noun, and the noun here is stative. And also the second sentence, the sitting girl is my sister. The sitting is a description. Actually, it's an adjective, and it's describing a state of a girl. It's just providing a stative or static portrayal of a girl. So here we have a static, stative, or static thing, static description of a scene. So here we have the noun and the adjective are stative. This is the end of today's explanation, this lecture's explanation. If you have any questions, any comments, please don't hesitate to write them down in the comment section. And thank you so much for your attention, and have a good day.